Welcome to the presentation series on employee proactivity. I am Chia-huei, an organizational psychologist. I study proactivity in the workplace and seek to address questions such as, why some employees are more proactive than others? How to promote employees' proactivity? Does employee proactivity always bring positive outcomes? My work on proactivity have been published at scholarly journals, including Academy of Management Journal, Journal of Applied Psychology, and Journal of Management. I have also published a book. The title is Employee Proactivity in Organizations: An Attachment Perspective. In this presentation, I discuss how can managers promote employees' proactive behavior. I will review situational antecedents that have been reported from previous research. What is proactive behavior? Proactive behavior refers to self-initiated, and future-oriented actions that aim to change and improve the situation or oneself. It is self-initiated because it is not part of one's formal job requirements. Since employees are not told to do so, being proactive will require extra effort and energy. Because being proactive means to go beyond the formal duty, proactivity does not link to formal performance appraisal. Now let's discuss. How can managers promote employees' proactive behavior? Below, I review several situational antecedents of proactive behavior, which can inform what managers can do to promote employees' proactive behavior. Let's start from employees' job characteristics. In their job characteristics model, Hackman and Oldham identify 5 job features that can motivate employees' intrinsic motivation at work. The 5 features include skill variety, whether a person are requested to utilize multiple different skills. Task identity, whether a person is in charge of completing an identifiable piece of work from start to finish. Task significance, whether a person's job has a positive impact on other people. Autonomy, whether a person has the freedom to decide how to perform his or her tasks. Feedback, whether a person can learn their work effectiveness directly. Hackman and Oldham propose that the 5 job features can promote different psychological states, which collectively reinforce employees' intrinsic motivation. For example, skill variety, task identity, and task significance can contribute to employees' perception of meaningfulness of work. Job autonomy can enhance one's responsibility for work outcomes. Task feedback gives knowledge of results, so that employees can know how to perform the tasks better. Meaningfulness, felt responsibility, and knowledge of results motivate employees to do their work for its own sake, because they offers reasons, influence, and knowledge to do the tasks. In turn, higher intrinsic motivation can result in higher job satisfaction, better performance, low absenteeism and turnover. While the 5 features may all motivate employees to do their work proactively, job autonomy is the one that has been consistently found to predict employees' proactive behavior. Why job autonomy can promote employees' proactive behavior? It is because job autonomy evokes can-do, reason-to, and energize-to pathways in driving proactive behavior. For the can-do pathway, higher job autonomy helps increase one's breadth of understanding and perspective-taking at work. It also facilitates learning and development of expertise, and enhances one's control beliefs to bring change. In brief, it makes employees to become knowledgeable and confident to master one's work. For the reason-to pathway, higher job autonomy helps increases felt responsibility and ownership at work. Employees tend to be proactive when they feel that they have responsibilities to the job well. For the energized-to pathway, higher job autonomy helps prevent job strains owing to higher job demands. It also helps sustain one's energy because it allows employees to regulate their work activities based on their goals. Altogether, employees having higher job autonomy are more likely to behave proactively, to bring about change to improve their work environment. To show the importance of job autonomy in promoting employees' proactive behavior, here I present a study by my colleagues and myself. In this study, we focus on innovation behavior, which is a form of proactive behavior that involves not only generating, but also implementing new ideas. We proposed and found that need for cognition, or an individual's tendency to engage in and enjoy thinking, is positively associated with innovation behavior. Employees who like to think tend to learn new things quickly and effectively. Because they are more thoughtful, they are also more confident in their thinking and tend to practice their ideas and be persistent to champion their ideas. This is why employees higher in need for cognition are more likely to generate and implement new ideas. In the study, we also found that higher job autonomy can predict innovation behavior, consistent with other studies. More importantly, the study is to investigate how job autonomy will shape the impact of need for cognition on innovative behavior. There are two different predictions on how job autonomy can influence the association between need for cognition and innovation behavior. The first prediction suggests that higher job autonomy will make need for cognition less predictive, because when job autonomy is high, all employees, including those who tend not to think, will be active in thinking, and thus become innovative. The second prediction suggests that higher job autonomy will make need for cognition more predictive, because when job autonomy is high, employees who like to think will think more, and become even more innovative. Which one do you predict? Our findings support the first prediction. Why? Job autonomy compensates for a lower need for cognition, because it evokes similar mechanisms as need for cognition would, and can thus substitute for this dispositional trait. For example, when people have higher job autonomy, they need to make decisions independently, and thus need to think. Job autonomy also provides opportunities to link new and existing knowledge, and facilitate learning because employees need to consider different information to make decisions. Job autonomy brings one sense of control, which helps employees develop strong beliefs in their ideas. It promotes felt responsibility for their work and makes employees persistent in bringing about change. Because of these functions, higher job autonomy is likely to push all employees, including those who are passive in thinking, to think actively and be innovative. While higher job autonomy can motivate employees to be innovative, in another study, my colleagues and I found that lower job autonomy can also spur innovation under a specific situation. In this study, we focus on the phenomena that employees may experience unsatisfied needs regarding tools, equipment, materials or methods, when they do their jobs. Borrowing the concept of lead users from innovation literature, we argue that employees can be lead users who invent tools, equipment, materials, or methods to solve their needs to complete their work. We use the term work process-related lead userness to capture the extent to which employees experience unsatisfied process-related needs. To explain this concept clearly, we use Tim Berners-Lee, who created the World Wide Web, as an example. Tim's invention of World Wide Web is due to an unsatisfied needs in communication, when he worked at the European Organization for Nuclear Research. He said, "Creating the web was really an act of desperation, because the situation without it was very difficult. The web was designed in order to make it possible to get at documentation, and in order to be able to get people to be able to come in and link in their ideas, so that we wouldn't lose it all, if we didn't debrief them before they left." In brief, Tim had unsatisfied work-related needs, as he was lacking a tool to gather and communicate information with remotely connected people. This unsatisfied need made him develop the World Wide Web. In our study, we found that those encountering unsatisfied process-related needs are more likely to engage in innovative behavior, because they have a strong need to do so. However, as presented in the figure, we found that such a motivating effect only occurs among employees who have lower job autonomy and higher self-efficacy. This is because when they have lower job autonomy and are asked to follow specific procedures to do their jobs, they will see the necessity to innovate to address their unsatisfied needs. While having higher self-efficacy, those employees are more confident of overcoming the difficulty to get it done. In brief, in low autonomy conditions, employees' willingness to change will be reinforced, especially for those high in self-efficacy. Our study offers several implications. First, we still found that job autonomy has a positive association with innovative behavior, supporting the benefit of higher job autonomy and boosting innovation. However, Our findings suggest that lack of autonomy can also spur innovative activities. When it is not possible to grant more autonomy to employees, low job autonomy is not harmful, if workers face strong work-related needs, provided that workers are high in self-efficacy. Accordingly, for low autonomy jobs, enhancing employees' self-efficacy can be alternative intervention for enhancing individual innovation at work. Now let's move to leadership, a critical factor that can affect employees' proactive behavior. The research so far has consistently found that transformational leaders are likely to motivate employees' proactivity. There are several key dimensions of transformational leadership, including vision, the expression of an idealized picture of the future based around organizational values. Inspirational communication, the expression of positive and encouraging messages about the organization, and statements that build motivation and confidence. Individualized consideration, expressing concern for followers, and taking account of their individual needs. Intellectual stimulation, enhancing employees' interest in, and awareness of problems, and increasing their ability to think about problems in new ways. Personal recognition, the provision of rewards such as praise, and acknowledgement of effort to achieve specified goals. Transformational leaders can promote employees' proactive behavior via different motivational pathways. They encourage employees to think about problems in new ways, and develop employees' ability to do so. They provide visions and offer a picture of a better future, leading employees to see reasons for change. They also inspire and support employees to initiate change, energizing employees to bring about change. Transformational leadership can also promote employees' proactive behavior, via the Pygmalion effect. My colleagues and I have conducted a study to demonstrate this. A Pygmalion process in leadership starts with leaders' positive expectations, followed by effective communication of these expectations to employees. Employees then tend to internalize leaders' expectations, and achieve performance consistent with the expectations. Consistent with this process, our study shows that transformational leaders tend to expect their subordinates to make constructive suggestions, because they encourage followers to think and do their jobs differently to bring a better future. When they send out this expectation, subordinates are likely to perceive that making suggestions is part of their work roles, and tend to voice more. In addition, because transformational leaders are often highly charismatic due to their communication styles and ambitions for change, subordinates are likely to identify with transformational leaders, making them acceptably internalize leaders' expectations. Our study, therefore, indicates that transformational leaders not only shape employees' proactive role perceptions, but also can motivate employees to internalize a proactive expectation due to their personal charisma. Leader support, in particular, plays a key role in driving employees' proactive behavior. In my PhD study, which has been published, we found that leader secure-based support can promote employees' proactive behavior. We follow the idea of attachment theory, that an individual is likely to explore when they have a secure base. According to the theory, a secure base is offered by sensitive and responsive caregivers that enable an individual to explore, learn about, and become competent in interacting with novel environments. Based on this, we propose that leaders can serve as a secure base to cultivate employees' self-efficacy and intrinsic motivation, to try out alternatives and explore new possibilities at work. Proactive behavior can be regarded as a form of exploration in the workplace because it involves seeking new possibilities to change and master the environments. What is a secure base? Bowlby describes a secure base as below. In essence, this support role is one of being available, ready to respond when called upon to encourage and perhaps assist, but to intervene actively only when clearly necessary. Based on this description, Feeney and Thrush identify three elements that constitute secure base support. Availability, the extent to which the attachment figure is available when an individual is needed, such as to assist with removing obstacles. Encouragement of growth, the extent to which the attachment figure supports individual decisions and actions, and encourages an individual to achieve personal goals and to develop. Non-interference, The extent to which the attachment figure refrains from unnecessary interference with an individual's decisions and actions, such as by taking over an activity. We follow this, and develop a measure of leader secure-based support. We found that it can predict employees' proactive work behavior. This is what we found. Leader secure-based support contributes to employees' self-efficacy and intrinsic motivation, which in turn, predict employees' proactive work behavior, including innovation, voice, taking charge, and problem prevention. This finding suggests that leader secure-based support can promote employee proactive behavior via the can-do and reason-to pathways. In addition, we simultaneously tested effects of proactive personality and job autonomy. They both have effects on employees' self-efficacy and intrinsic motivation. These findings indicate that proactive personality, job autonomy, and leadership are three unique antecedents of proactive behavior. In the same study, we also examine who will need leader secure-based support in particular to drive their proactive behavior. We examine individual differences in attachment anxiety and attachment avoidance. People high in attachment anxiety tend to regard themselves as unlovable, and tend to express excessive distress to attract attention and care from others. They tend to have lower self-efficacy, and rely on others' approval to maintain their self-evaluations. In contrast, people high in attachment avoidance tend to keep their distance, and be indifferent to the environment. These people are not interested in interacting with others, and do not think they can influence the external environment. Both of them tend not to be proactive for different reasons. In our study, we found that for those high in attachment anxiety, leader secure-based support helps promote their self-efficacy, and thus proactive behavior. For those high in attachment avoidance, leader secure-based support helps promote their intrinsic motivation, and thus proactive behavior. This finding reveals that leader secure-based support can motivate employees to be proactive, especially for those who have different concerns of their social relationships. This study also reveals the relational foundation of employee proactivity. A more detailed discussion on the relational foundation of employee proactivity from an attachment theory perspective can be found in my book, published in 2019 by Bristol University Press. Finally, the work climate is another situational factor. 2 work climates have been identified to promote employee proactivity. First, psychological safety climate refers to a shared belief that the team is safe for interpersonal risk-taking. It provides a social environment that allows employees to take the initiative and explore new ideas without worrying about interpersonal risks, such as being undermined or socially rejected. Second, initiative climate refers to the extent to which self-starting, change-oriented, long-term oriented, and persistent behavior is encouraged and rewarded by management. These 2 climates have been found to be positively related to employees' or teams' proactive behavior. To summarize, how can managers promote employees' proactive behavior? Based on the above review, managers can do 3 things to promote employees' proactive behavior. Grant job autonomy to subordinates. Be transformational, and provide secure-based support to subordinates. Build psychological safety climate and initiative climate in the work unit.